On a chilly night, light rain fell over Los Angeles. The glow from a gas station lit up the slick streets, creating shimmering reflections across the pavement. Keanu Reeves, known for his grounded nature, quietly pulled in to refuel his motorcycle. Everything appeared ordinary, until something caught his eye and made him pause. A young pregnant woman moved quickly between vehicles, clearly exhausted. She was lifting heavy boxes, wiping windshields and pumping gas, barely taking a moment to breathe. Her face was tight with fatigue, but she pushed through. What Keanu did next would leave everyone around stunned, and would change this woman's entire night. Get ready to witness a real, life act of kindness that might just restore your faith in humanity. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from. If you love stories that uplift and inspire, make sure to subscribe. We've got another one coming for you tomorrow. That night in Los Angeles carried a quiet heaviness. Under a flickering red and blue neon sign, the gas station hummed gently. It looked like any other place, but for Emily, that corner meant survival. 7 months pregnant, Emily moved with resolve. She scrubbed windshields, checked oil, and smiled at strangers while her thin jacket and worn uniform did little to keep out the damp cold. Tonight's earnings weren't optional, they meant rent for another month. Her 8-year-old daughter, Sophia, sat under the station's awning on a plastic chair. Shielded from the drizzle, she gripped a short red pencil and sketched carefully in an old activity book. 2 tiny stubs of blue and yellow lay beside her. With little to work with, Sophia gave the pages everything she had, drawing places filled with warmth and hope. The low growl of an engine rumbled into the station. A black motorcycle coasted up to a pump. Dressed in a black leather jacket and helmet, Keanu Reeves dismounted with practiced ease. He pulled off his helmet, revealing rain-dampened hair and a calm, thoughtful gaze. As he scanned the station, his eyes stopped on Emily. He noticed how she worked, efficiently, kindly, even as exhaustion clung to her like the cold. Then his attention shifted to Sophia, still drawing with deep concentration. Curious, Keanu stepped closer and peeked at the sketch. A cozy kitchen, steam rising from pots, a table at the center, a counter with a blank sign. Keanu crouched gently to observe the pencil lines more closely. "You like to draw?" he asked softly. Sophia looked up, surprised by the kind voice. She nodded shyly. "I draw places I want to go," she whispered. Keanu smiled warmly. "And this place, what is it?" Sophia looked down at her drawing. Her grip tightened on the pencil. Before she could answer, Emily appeared, drying her hands on her apron. "Sophia, don't bother the gentleman," she said kindly but firmly. "She's not bothering me," Keanu replied. "She was telling me about her drawings, and the places she dreams about." Emily gave him a hesitant smile, part curiosity, part caution. But before more could be said, a customer honked. Emily excused herself and returned to work. Keanu stayed for a moment, looking at the drawing again as Sophia added details. The picture wasn't just a child's sketch, it was something more. A dream quietly waiting to be seen. As Emily finished wiping the last windshield of the night, her movements had slowed. Her back ached. Each stretch sent waves of pain through her. She tried to hide it, but the effort was visible in her face. When the last car pulled away, she leaned against a pump, her hand at her lower back, and closed her eyes, fighting off more than just pain. Keanu observed from a distance. He didn't interrupt. He simply watched as she gathered her strength and walked back toward the counter. Sophia noticed first. "Are you okay, Mama?" she asked gently. "I'm fine, sweetheart," Emily replied, sitting beside her daughter with a forced smile. Keanu stepped forward now. "Excuse me," he said softly. "You look like you could use some help." Emily looked at him, surprised. "Thank you, but I'm okay. Just back pain. It's normal." "Normal doesn't mean you should bear it alone," Keanu said, his tone kind and gentle. Emily shook her head, her eyes low. "There's nothing to be done. It's life." Keanu crouched near her, respectful, sincere. "Do you do this every night?" Emily nodded. 2 nights here. Mornings I clean offices. That's what pays the rent and keeps Sophia in school." Keanu was quiet, absorbing it all. "And when do you rest?" he asked. Emily gave a small tired laugh. "Rest? I don't have time for that. Bills don't wait. And with the baby coming, it shouldn't have to be this hard." Keanu said more to himself than her. For the first time, Emily met his eyes. There was no pretense, just fatigue. And the quiet hope that maybe someone finally saw her. "I made choices that led me here," Emily murmured, her voice soft but steady. "I don't get to complain. Complaining doesn't help." Sophia had been quietly listening. She reached out, placing her small hand over her mother's, her touch tender but strong. "You do everything for me, Mama." Emily's face softened as she looked at her daughter. Tears welled in her eyes, not from sadness alone, but from love. "Because you're all that matters, Soph," she whispered. "You're the reason I keep going." Keanu stood nearby, silently observing. The bond between mother and daughter hit him deeply. He realized Emily wasn't just carrying a child. She was carrying the full weight of survival, responsibility, and the fierce determination to give Sophia a future filled with dignity. even when every day felt like a battle. Sometimes, Emily continued, her voice breaking slightly, I wonder if I'm doing enough. If one day she'll look back and think I only fought, but never really lived. That I never gave her anything beautiful. Sophia squeezed her hand tightly. You give me everything, Mama. Emily smiled, but Keanu noticed the shadow that flickered in her expression. What about her father? He asked gently. Emily froze for a second. Her breath caught. He left when he found out I was pregnant again, she finally said. Her voice was low, honest. Said it was already hard enough with one child, that he didn't want another responsibility. Keanu's jaw tightened slightly, a quiet knot forming in his chest, so he packed his things and left. Sophia remained quiet, watching her mother. The sadness in her young eyes said more than words could. Emily gently squeezed her daughter's hand again, offering comfort even when she had little left to give. And you? Keanu asked softly. What did you do after that? Emily straightened her shoulders with a strength that seemed practiced, like armor she had to wear every day. I kept going, because I didn't have a choice. Just then, a car horn blared from pump 2. Emily rose with a weary sigh. Excuse me, sir, she said politely. Duty calls. Keanu nodded and stepped aside. As she walked toward the pump, he noticed a slight limp in her right foot, the fatigue of her pregnancy etched into every movement. He looked back at Sophia, who had returned to her small chair under the awning. She clutched the red pencil again, but her eyes followed her mother with a worry no child should carry. Your mom works a lot, Keanu said gently, crouching to Sophia's eye level. Sophia nodded, the pencil tight in her grip. She cries sometimes when she thinks I'm asleep. Keanu's chest ached at the words. Why does she cry? He asked. Sophia looked down. Because she's tired, and because, like Mama said, Papa left when he found out about the baby. She pressed the red pencil hard against the page. He said he didn't want another mouth to feed. Keanu sat in silence for a moment, her words lingering. He looked back toward Emily, and in that moment he knew. This family needed more than sympathy. They needed action. Keanu stood beside Sophia, his thoughts racing. He didn't have the full plan yet, but he was certain of one thing. What he was about to do would change everything. A light drizzle had started again, misting the air with cold. Emily pulled her jacket tighter over her shoulders as a shiver passed through her exhausted body. Sophia sat beside her, scribbling a new drawing, but she kept looking up, watching her mother with silent concern. Keanu stood nearby, watching both of them. The contrast was stark. Sophia's innocent energy, Emily's visible exhaustion. She carried it all, physically and emotionally. But she still smiled, still kept going. I'd like to ask you something, Keanu said suddenly, breaking the silence with a calm voice. Emily looked up, surprised. She gave him a small nod. Sure, if you had one chance, he continued, just one, to do something different, what would it be? Emily paused. The question was simple, but the weight of it was heavy. I don't know, she said softly. I don't think I can afford to think like that anymore. There's no room for what-ifs when you have bills to pay, kids to raise. Keanu nodded slowly, respecting her reality. I imagine you've given up a lot. Emily shook her head gently. It's not giving up. Life just doesn't allow certain things. You don't dream when you're just trying to stay afloat. Sophia looked up from her sketchbook. But you still cook, Mama, and you make the best lasagna in the world. Emily chuckled, a sound laced with both joy and sadness. Sweetheart, making lasagna at home and running a restaurant are very different things. But you've wanted a restaurant, haven't you? Keanu asked, turning to Emily again. She hesitated, then nodded. Yes, she said quietly. When I was younger. Before all this, before Marco. Keanu caught the tone shift at the name. Your husband. Emily nodded again, eyes fixed on the grey horizon. When we got married, we used to dream about opening a little place together. He said I had a gift. That food was my way of loving the world. She paused. But after Sophia was born, everything changed. It got harder. And when I found out, Emily's voice wavered. I was pregnant again, and he left. Sophia reached for her mother's hand, gripping it tightly in quiet support. Emily steadied herself and went on. He said he couldn't handle more responsibility, that another child was just too much. And then he walked out. Keanu's chest tightened. He glanced at little Sophia, silently drawing, then back at Emily, still holding herself together through sheer will. He straightened his posture. Maybe you feel like you have no choices right now, he said, voice steady. But what if someone helped change that? Emily's brow furrowed. I appreciate the thought, but I'm not looking for handouts. Keanu leaned forward, calm but direct. It's not charity, he said. It's an opportunity, a chance to dream again. She hesitated. Why do you even care? I'm just a nobody. Keanu shook his head. Everyone deserves the chance to dream, and you deserve more than just surviving. There was a pause. Then his tone shifted, calm but resolute. I'll be back tomorrow. Emily looked stunned. Why? Because you and Sophia deserve more than this. He gestured subtly to the old notebook, to the tiny station around them. See you tomorrow. He walked away, leaving Emily frozen, watching his silhouette disappear as he rode off on his motorcycle. Something about his words lingered like warmth in cold air. The next morning, as her shift ended, Emily tidied the counter. Sophia sat nearby, still drawing. Suddenly, the familiar rumble of a deep engine echoed outside. Emily stiffened. She knew that sound. Sophia looked up from her paper, eyes lighting up. Keanu parked his black arch motorcycle in the same spot as the night before. He stepped off, dressed in a black blazer, great shirt, and dark jeans, holding 2 large paper bags. His calm smile hadn't changed. Good morning, he greeted. Emily blinked. You actually came back. I said I would. He placed the bags on the counter and smiled at Sophia. Good morning, Sophia. Good morning, she chirped, already eyeing the bags with wide-eyed curiosity. Keanu turned to Emily again. Before you say anything, just look. He opened the bags slowly. Inside were basic groceries, a few new clothes for Sophia, and a bright box of colored pencils resting on top. Sophia gasped, clutching the box like treasure. Pencils? She cried, beaming. Thank you, mister. Emily watched, visibly moved, but still cautious. Before she could speak, Keanu gently interrupted. I know what you're thinking, but this isn't pity. It's just a push, so you can breathe again. Emily shook her head slightly, overwhelmed. I don't know if I can accept this. Keanu calmly placed an envelope beside the bags. That's for rent. Just for this month. And one more thing. He handed her a slightly crumpled flyer. Emily opened it slowly. Culinary course for single mothers. She blinked. What is this? A free cooking course. Keanu explained. You'll learn professional techniques, even the business side, if someday you want to turn it into something more. She stared at him, confused. Why, you don't even know us. His smile softened. Because you deserve it, and sometimes, one act of kindness changes everything. Emily's throat tightened. I don't know what to say. You don't have to, Keanu said. Just think about it. Know someone believes in you. Sophia looked up. Mama, will you learn new recipes, like Grandma used to make? Emily looked from her daughter to the flyer. Something inside her shifted, faint but real. She clutched the flyer gently, looked at Keanu. Her voice barely a whisper. Maybe it's time to try. Months passed. The culinary course didn't just sharpen Emily's cooking. It opened doors she never imagined. With each session, she rediscovered her love for food, and what it meant to share that with others. Meanwhile, Keanu kept his quiet promise. While she studied, he worked behind the scenes, calling contacts, gathering support, and finally finding the perfect space. It wasn't flashy, but it was perfect. On a bright morning, Keanu waited by the door of a small building. He wore his familiar black blazer, calm as ever. Emily and Sophia approached hesitantly. What is this? She asked, scanning the storefront. Keanu stepped aside. Above the entrance, hand-painted in elegant letters, read La Cucina di Nonna. Emily froze. Her hand covered her mouth, tears already forming. Sophia lit up. Mama, it's our restaurant. Emily turned to Keanu, stunned. You did this? Why? Keanu looked at her with the same quiet strength. Because your story, and your gift, deserve a home. And because no one should have to give up on their dreams. They walked inside. The space was cozy and warm, a real kitchen. Tables arranged with care, shelves lined with old cookbooks. A corner space for children, set up with a drawing table, and the very same colored pencils from months before. Emily brushed her fingers along the counter, still stunned. Sophia ran to the kids' corner and started to draw. Emily turned to Keanu, her eyes searching for the words. Emily's voice trembled. I don't know how to thank you for this. Keanu smiled softly. You don't have to thank me. Just do what you do best. Cook, bring people together and pass it forward when you can. The grand opening came just a few days later. La Cucina di Nonna quickly became a cherished spot in the neighborhood. It wasn't just a restaurant. It was a place where hearts gathered. Emily poured her soul into every dish. Each recipe carried a piece of her grandmother's legacy, but with Emily's unique twist. The food was exquisite, but more than that, it was personal. What truly made the place special was the warmth that infused every corner. That night, the restaurant buzzed with laughter and conversation. The scent of lasagna drifted from the kitchen, where Emily worked with steady hands and a grateful heart. At one table near the window, little Sophia proudly passed out menus she had illustrated by hand. Her joy radiated through the room. In the back corner, Keanu sat quietly, watching it all unfold with quiet satisfaction. Emily stepped out of the kitchen carrying a fresh dish. She set it before him, then paused and sat down across from him, her eyes shining. I never imagined I'd be here, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Keanu looked around the bustling room. You belong here. What you've built, it's something this community needed. Emily followed his gaze. The joy, the comfort, the connection. It all felt surreal. My dream didn't just come back, she whispered. It came back stronger. Keanu nodded. That's the thing about kindness. It doesn't just heal, it grows. The smell of freshly baked bread mingled with laughter. Emily moved from table to table, adjusting plates, sharing stories, smiling with customers who had quickly become regulars. La Cucina di Nonna wasn't just a business, it was a living memory of love. Sophia wandered between tables with her colored pencils, handing out illustrated menus and chatting with guests about her grandmother's recipes. In her eyes, this wasn't just her mother's dream. It was their legacy. At his usual corner table, Keanu sipped coffee, content and still. He didn't need to speak. He could see everything written in the life Emily had built. Emily joined him again, setting down a fresh cup. You always choose the same table, she teased. Keanu chuckled. It's the best spot in the house. I can see everything from here. She smiled, then her voice softened. Not a day goes by that I don't thank you for what you did for me and Sophia. Keanu shook his head. You changed everything. I just helped you see it. Emily looked at him, tears in her eyes. I'll never forget what you've done, and I promise you I'll pass it on. That's all I could ever ask. Keanu replied. Kindness travels. Now you have the chance to be someone's beginning. Just then, Sophia rushed over holding out her sketchbook. Mama, look what I made! Emily opened it with a soft laugh. Inside was a drawing of the restaurant's smiling customers, steaming plates, and a bold sign that read, La Cucina di Nonna. Emily hugged her tight. It's perfect. Keanu stood, sliding a few bills onto the table. Emily looked at him surprised. You're leaving. I'll always be part of this, he said gently. But this is yours now, your story to keep writing. He gave Sophia a warm smile and walked to the door. Emily stood still, watching his silhouette fade into the soft light of the evening. In that moment, she didn't just feel grateful. She felt ready. Her life hadn't just changed. It had transformed. And now she would be the spark for someone else's story. What came next would be a new chapter, one written with courage, love and purpose. A story not just about overcoming, but about becoming. Because what Keanu gave her wasn't just a second chance. It was a mirror to the strength she already had. The message of this story is simple, but powerful. Never stop dreaming. Dreams are the quiet fire that keep hope alive inside us. They guide us through the darkest nights and give us something to rise for. And when paired with kindness, those dreams can grow beyond us. Kindness is the thread that binds us all. It doesn't always need to be grand. Sometimes it's just one small act that opens the door to a new life. So dream, be kind, and when your time comes, be the one who passes it forward. Because that's how we build a more beautiful world, one heart at a time.